when Girja called me and asked me if I would moderate the session, I said definitely, because you can't say no to Girja anyway. And then about 3 nights ago, Hari called me and said, do you mind, talking about the SMU story a little bit? And I said, why? And I was told we were a disruptive university. It might go along with the session. So I'll take a couple of minutes to do that. We'll set it up along the education life cycle. You've dealt with the basics, Nirmala. Then we'll talk about how graduates can get placed. And then we'll talk about how India Infoline can make sure that those graduates with jingle in their pocket can get better educated to do the right things. So with that, let me just take a couple of minutes, if I may. If we could switch over to all right, while we're switching over to the SMU presentation, we were started in 2001, so about 12 years old. We are now officially teenagers, so whatever trouble, whatever disruption we've caused in the past, we have the license to be even more disruptive now. SMU, started out as an experiment. The 2 universities here were Nanyang Technological University and NUS. These are rather large, well-established universities. And the Singapore government has always invested in education and has always invested in experimentation. And some of the changes they hoped to see were not coming out of the educational establishment, because we educators have our own secret sauce. And that sauce is that we form committees, and whenever we have an opportunity to change, with the committee that represents all the parts of the university find ways to resist that change. And I think probably universities are the slowest to change, with the possible exception of the Catholic Church. And so SMU was started as an experiment to see if we could get some change in the educational system in Singapore. So what the government did was, while we were publicly funded, they established us to be privately run. They gave us a single block grant, and we were free to do what we wanted with it, whether we're going to spend it on infrastructure, we're going to spend it on faculty, we're going to spend it on student programs. And we've made rather rapid progress. We started out with 12 faculty and 306 students in 2001. We are now pushing about 8,200 students and 303 faculty. So we really are a fast growth company, if you want to look at it that way. Our goal is to really get to about 9,500 to 10,000, and then we'll stabilize. And the only reason that'll happen is because we've run out of space. And where we are located is probably the most expensive part of Singapore, which is a block from here. So that's the limitation. What have we done? We now have, we started out with 1 undergraduate program in the management school, and now we have 6 schools: information systems, law school, economics, social sciences, accountancy, and business. So the single school spawned 6 schools. We have 22 research centers. And we have introduced, in the last 5 years or so, about 17 postgraduate programs and professional programs, as well as 7 PhD programs. So we're on a rapid growth path. What are some aspects of distinctiveness of the SMU education, and why were we disruptive? From day one, rather than dive deep into one area, we've had 40% of our curriculum is common. So things like team building, leadership, ethics, we have required it from the day we started. From the day we started, community service was required. It wasn't one of these things that it was a classroom activity. You were required to spend at least 2 weeks outside of SMU, whether it's helping the community in Singapore or it was going to teach school in Nepal. It didn't matter, but you had to get the hell out of Singapore, to do that. We required a compulsory internship. If you were doing 2 majors, let's say psychology and marketing, you had to do 2 internships because each major required an internship. And what we were able to do in this process is to get better connected with the university, with the community. But one of the most important things was that we embedded a lot of experiential learning in our co-curricular activities. So as an example, we have something called the Dragon Boat Racing Club. This is a bunch of students who manage the Singapore Dragon Boat races, and it's a 2-day event, about 100 odd races. They get the sponsorships. Last year it was about 19 companies, and they fight amongst themselves as to how they're going to schedule things. They're the ones who have to get the police license because there are over 10,000 attendees into this program. But in the process, what they have learned is how to work as a team, how to sell the concept to get the sponsorships. So these are very much an element of our programs. What has happened since is that many of our students, 77% of our students have double majors. Our goal is 100% global exposure. We're about 80+% right now. And our goal is also 100% experiential learning. So these are some of the differentiating factors. It's become very popular in Singapore to say that we have a T-shaped education, the top of the T for the breadth and the stem for the depth. And so what we have instead at SMU is a pie-shaped education, because the vast majority of our students actually have double majors, and therefore they have the breadth. We are now moving towards a situation where we are expanding from undergraduate into graduate, and also we're expanding from building SMU to building SMU's global reputation. It means 2 things. One is we need to understand into the postgraduate programs, and we also need to expand into research. The management research is typically, I didn't mean to make it an education, educational presentation, but we do a lot of what we call causal analysis. We look backwards to see what worked in the past and draw all kinds of conclusions. And thereupon we extrapolate into the future, and we kind of make assumptions about what to do, assuming the whole world will continue to behave this way. When we talk to the business community, they have to make decisions with some visions of the future. So what is typically happening is that in terms of academic research, we're looking at the past, and we're looking at describing behavior, whereas the managers, you people, are asking us to say, hey, what will the world look like, and what are we going to do about it? And as a consequence, what SMU has decided is that we will have a different business model. What's the business model? Every university will tell you we do research. Every university will tell you that based on that research, based on that well-grounded theory, we bring that into the classroom and disseminate it through programs. We have added a 3rd leg of this tool, which is collaboration and practice. This is in collaboration with you all. What are we doing? We're trying to integrate all 3 elements. And so we're looking at not only research-driven educational programs, we're also working with the business community to influence our research agenda. And through executive education and things like that, it's a 2-way street. We actually use executive education as a way to learn what the priorities should be and what we ought to be researching. So we've established 3 areas of excellence based on where we feel we have some competence. And the idea is, where do we have thought leadership, where we have good programs, and where we have enough capacity to be able to work with industry. And those 3 areas are financial markets and institutions, innovation, and what we are calling big data or business analytics. So these are 3 areas. It's not that we don't do work in other areas, but in these 3 areas, our ambition is to get to be top 5, top 10 in the world. We've done rather well on the academic side. We have gone rapidly up the academic research ladder, but now what we are trying to do is we're trying to have impact on industry, and we are just as interested in our faculty being on corporate boards as they are going to be on editorial boards. So we're shifting that. This is an example of what we're trying to do. In the innovation area, we've established multidisciplinary research. We've put in educational programs. We're the first one in Asia to launch a Masters of Innovation program, which we just started this August. We are also have several centers that are focusing on collaboration and practice, including the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And what we're trying to do is we're looking for that three-way intersection. In the process of doing that, we have decided that SMU is in Asia, and we become actually far more valuable to the world the more we know about Asia. Consequently, our focus is on ASEAN, our focus is on China, our focus is on India. To start generating that research knowledge and also the contextual knowledge, we, as an example, started a case writing initiative. This year we've written, in 12 months, in the past 12 months, we've written 42 cases, all in Asia, including the 2 in the Middle East, which we consider part of Asia. So our focus is entirely Asia. We're not looking at opportunities elsewhere. And so that's a very quick introduction. We are very delighted to be working with the IITs and the IIMs, and I'm in charge of the India desk at SMU, and we've had wonderful support from the business community. We've had wonderful support from the Indian High Commission, and we're looking forward to further collaborations. So this is pretty much the SMU story. One final thing. Many people ask me, why would you move to Singapore after being on the faculty in the US for 30 years? And my answer to that was, and this is very similar to what Nirmala had to say, is that in my opinion, there are only 2 countries in the world where the state religion is education. One is Singapore, and I think the other one is Finland, where I've also done a fair amount of work. So thank you, and with that, we'll